The morning sun poured through the tall glass windows of ABC's New York studios, washing the marble floors in a soft golden glow. Inside the building, everything moved with the usual controlled chaos, assistants hustling with clipboards, producers speaking into headsets, makeup artists weaving between guests and crew like quiet shadows. But behind the polished routine of the view, there was an unusual tension in the air, the kind that felt electric, like the calm before a storm no one wanted to acknowledge out loud. Carrie Underwood sat in her dressing room, calm on the outside, focused on her reflection in the mirror as a stylist gently adjusted her hair. She wore a simple but elegant outfit, nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, just clean lines and neutral colors that matched her composed expression. Anyone watching her would assume it was just another media appearance. Another interview. Another polite conversation. But inside, her mind was anything but calm. She had seen the clips. She had heard the comments. The online backlash was everywhere: social media, headlines, reaction videos, opinion pieces. And at the center of it all was Joy Behar's on-air criticism, delivered with that familiar mix of humor and sharpness that could feel playful to some and cutting to others. Carrie hadn't responded publicly. Not once. She believed in staying quiet, in letting things pass, in not feeding controversy. But silence didn't stop the noise. It only made it louder. Her publicist, standing near the door, checked her phone for the 5th time in 2 minutes. "They're ready for you in 5, she said carefully, her voice calm but her eyes tense. "It'll be fine. Just keep it light. Smile. Redirect if it gets uncomfortable." Carrie nodded politely. She was good at that, smiling, redirecting, staying composed. Years in the spotlight had trained her to master that skill. But today felt different. This wasn't just about an album, a tour, or a performance. This felt personal. It felt like being misunderstood in front of millions of people, reduced to a headline instead of being seen as a human being. As she stood up and smoothed her outfit, a deep breath filled her chest. She wasn't angry, at least, that's what she told herself. She was grounded, controlled, calm, but somewhere beneath that calm was a pressure, like steam building behind a closed lid. The studio doors opened, and the familiar applause washed over her as she walked onto the set. The audience smiled, clapped, some even stood. The hosts sat in their usual positions, polished and camera-ready. Whoopi Goldberg gave her a warm smile. Sarah Haynes nodded politely. Sunny Hostin offered a professional grin. And Joy Behar, Joy's expression was neutral, unreadable, composed in that way only seasoned TV veterans could manage. Carrie greeted them all with kindness, hugging Whoopi, shaking hands, smiling for the cameras. The intro music faded. The lights adjusted. The red recording light blinked on. The conversation started easily. Safe topics. Her music. Her career. Her journey. The audience laughed at light jokes. The mood felt relaxed, almost normal. For a few minutes, it seemed like the storm might never come. But live television has a rhythm, and that rhythm always builds toward the tension point. Joy leaned forward slightly, her voice calm, measured, almost gentle. "Carrie, you know you're incredibly loved by fans across the country," she said. "But recently, there's been some backlash about your views and the way you've handled certain topics publicly. People feel disappointed. Some feel hurt. How do you respond to that?" The studio felt quieter instantly, like someone had turned down the volume on the entire room. Even the audience shifted in their seats. Carrie smiled politely. "A professional. Smile. I understand that people have different perspectives," she said carefully. "I've always tried to lead with kindness and respect. I don't believe in attacking people for their beliefs, and I don't think anyone deserves to be reduced to one opinion." Joy nodded slowly, but her eyes stayed sharp. "But silence can also feel like a statement," she replied. "When you don't speak up, people interpret that as choosing a side." The words were calm. The tone wasn't aggressive, but the implication hung heavy in the air. Carrie's smile tightened slightly. "I don't think everything has to be a public performance," she said. "Some things are personal. Some things are private. I don't think every belief needs to be debated on television." There was a murmur from the audience. Soft, but noticeable. Joy tilted her head. "But you're a public figure. Your influence is massive. Whether you like it or not, people look to you for direction." Something shifted. Not dramatically. Not explosively. But subtly. Like a crack forming in glass. Carrie inhaled slowly. Her eyes stayed calm, but her voice changed, firmer, deeper, more grounded. With respect, Joy, she said, being a public figure doesn't mean I stop being a human being. It doesn't mean I owe everyone access to my thoughts, my beliefs, or my silence. The studio felt frozen. Joy raised her eyebrows slightly. No one's asking for access to your soul, she replied. People are asking for accountability. That word, accountability, hung in the air like a challenge. Carrie turned her body slightly toward Joy now, no longer facing the entire panel, but addressing her directly. Her voice stayed controlled, but the emotion underneath it was unmistakable. Accountability for what? She asked calmly. For not speaking loudly enough. For not performing outrage on command. For choosing peace instead of conflict. The audience shifted again. A few quiet gasps. A few soft claps that were quickly silenced. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Carrie continued, still calm, still controlled, but no longer holding back. I've spent my entire career trying to bring people together, she said. Through music. Through kindness. Through empathy. And now I'm being told that because I don't participate in public fights, I'm somehow the problem. Her voice didn't rise, but the intensity did. The words landed heavier with each sentence. Whoopi glanced between them. Sarah's expression tightened. Sunny leaned back slightly, sensing the shift. Carrie straightened in her chair. I won't apologize for choosing compassion over controversy, she said. I won't apologize for not turning my beliefs into headlines. And I won't apologize for protecting my peace. For a moment, no one spoke. The studio was silent. No laughter. No applause. No background noise. Just cameras rolling and tension hanging thick in the air. Joy looked at her, stunned, not angry, not defensive, just momentarily caught off guard. Carrie's hands were calm in her lap. Her posture was steady, but her eyes were intense, focused, unshaken. This wasn't a meltdown. It wasn't shouting. It wasn't chaos. It was controlled fire. And everyone in the room could feel it. The audience slowly began to clap, soft at first, then louder, then stronger. Not wild applause, but supportive, emotional, real. Carrie didn't smile. She didn't acknowledge it. She just sat there, breathing slowly, her gaze steady, as the energy in the studio shifted completely. The calm morning show atmosphere was gone. Something had changed. And it was clear to everyone watching, this was no longer just an interview. This was a moment.